Good night. Good evening, everyone. Okay, first order of business, it's been a couple months, but the minutes from the July 26th meeting. Everyone get a chance to take a look at them? Corrections, comments? Okay, good. Hearing none, they are accepted. Okay, I don't see Mark Barnhart.
I'm going to present for Mark. He couldn't make it. He's at WPCA, I believe, for some reason.
Okay, well then let me just identify the new business. Request from Anthony stepping in for Mark Barnhart, Director of Community and Economic Development, for permission to conduct a free family-oriented event on Sherman Green during Fairfield Restaurant Week in conjunction with Fairfield University. And this is the same format that was held last year on October 27th.
Yep, so this is just basically a meet and greet where they bring the basketball team out. They're looking to do this on October 24th between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. It was pretty low-key last year. They had some families that came out, but they're requesting to do the same thing. Again, we didn't have any issues or complaints, so I don't see any issue with this one.
So last year, what was it advertised?
It was advertised.
And how many people came out?
Maybe 50 to 75 throughout the time frame. It was not like an overwhelming crowd that showed up.
To meet and greet with the basketball team?
That was what that's how it's built, yes.
The mascot was there.
Yeah.
My kids were there.
Yeah, it's a fun, family fun event.
We gave away stuff.
I assume you're representing for you?
Not on this.
He's later on the agenda.
Win a few more games, and then you get more people out there. Come before us.
Beautiful new arena. Come on, check it out.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions? We're just on first order of business. The Fairfield University at the Sherman Green. Okay. And Mark was not here, so Anthony presented his absence. So, all right. No questions? Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Bridget?
A second.
Bill, second. All right. Any further discussion, questions from the commission? Any comments from the public? Back to the commission. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All set. Next up, request from Galen Brown, Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation, to submit variance requests for upcoming events at Burr Mansion and Jackie Rail. This should be interesting.
Let me set the table for you guys, just so everybody's on the same page of what we're asking for here. So last month, the RTM passed a noise ordinance in town. Basically, there's a noise ordinance now 24 hours a day. You have daytime hours, nighttime hours. So if you're doing a function in the middle of the day and you have music, amplified music, speakers, things of that nature, you're subject to the noise ordinance. If somebody does call the police, they come out, they use their discretion, they have the ability to write a ticket. They've already received, I don't know how many calls, but I know of a handful. Burr Mansion was called the next day. They were at Burr Mansion the next day for an event. I know Sacred Heart was called on this past weekend for their football game. So there's already things like this that are going on. So I talked to the police chief, and the way the ordinance is written is that anybody can ask for a variance on their event, and as long as it's granted by the police commission and signed off by the police chief, it gets approved. So when the chief and I were talking about, okay, hey, we've got all these Parks and Rec events, what should the variance procedure be? Because what we want to do is we want to avoid these types of issues with our types of events if we've got people renting the pavilions or Burr Mansion. So as an extra layer, we decided, the part of this should be coming to the Parks and Rec Commission first, getting approval for variance on it. Then Galen would take that to the police commission. They'd sign off on it, and then ultimately the police chief. So then if someone did call for an event, the police can just go to the list and say a variance on this one. But they'll still jot it down that there was a call made against that event. And then when the police chief reports to the RTM in, I think, January, maybe not this January, but I think he's supposed to do it annually. He's supposed to report on how many violations there were. These would be in there, but he would report that there was a variance granted for it. So that's where we are now.
But this list goes from September 21st to October 22nd.
Right. So those are all the events that we have on the books currently through the closing of both of those facilities. Because both of those facilities are seasonal. Burr Mansion has the tent outside. They only use it through October, and Jackie Durrell only goes to mid-October. So the way I'm anticipating this playing out is that we would probably be doing this quarterly.
Okay.
I think that's going to be the best way to try to capture any of the last-minute things as best we can. And again, I don't think we're going to get calls on every one of these, but we want to try to avoid that. And we've put in our rules and regs, where it's spelt out. These are the hours of the noise ordinance, and you're supposed to comply. So we haven't told the events that we're going for a variance. But again, we're just trying to avoid issues in the future with these.
So if we do them in blocks on a quarterly basis, we don't need to, because I was thinking to get ahead of it on an individual event basis, if, for example, we were to approve the Fifth of U project that's next up on the agenda, should we just include this? But if we're going to do it quarterly,
yeah, I think
we could just capture it.
I think we'll capture it quarterly. But yes, you're right. I mean, that would be an event that we're going to have to ask for a variance on.
I read through the noise ordinance thing because of an event that I held recently. There is an exception that I think would apply to your events, Anthony. I can read it first. So the exception is where is it? Noise. Sorry, I just lost it. Okay, noise created by public celebrations and on-site recreational or sporting activities which are sanctioned by the state of Connecticut or the town of Fairfield, including but not limited to parades, sporting events, concerts, block parties. This exception does not apply to private rentals of town-owned buildings. So
that's why we're here asking for the variance.
Okay, but your normal events are going to be fine if you have the correct permissions.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, rec soccer would be fine.
Right.
Youth football game would be fine.
Yeah.
Little league would be fine.
Right.
Rental of Burr Mansion would not be fine.
Yeah, fine, right.
But you said there was a complaint at Sacred Heart?
You can cut grass.
Soccer game, football game?
Football.
There was on over the weekend.
Okay, so
Yeah.
did whoever took the complaint
Say,
just say,
yeah,
Sure, they said this doesn't apply.
Yeah.
But thank you.
yeah.
okay. Kaylin, do you want to add anything to
I
this?
feel like that was a pretty good synopsis, that's why we're here.
Okay, good synopsis. Any questions?
We can't, the question, so we just can't just do a blanket, exception that these two facilities, and then you don't have to worry about if something falls through the cracks?
As silly as it is, I appreciate that, and that would definitely make our job a lot easier. But I think I'd rather come quarterly and say, hey, here are the events we have. These are the ones we're asking for. And I assume that Galen's included every rental. But, if there was a ceremony of life, for example, does that really need to be on the list? I guess some of those might be able to get a little rowdy, but or maybe we don't even want to assume that, But I'd rather just bring all the events and say, hey, here's what we have. So at least we're going through the process that they laid out for us.
And who knows, after 2 or 3 quarters of doing this, maybe the police give you the rubber stamp to, approve these.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Have you shared this with the First Select Woman and other town bodies?
The First Select Woman is aware that we're presenting this and going this route with it.
Okay.
Would this then become another criteria that we use when we're approving events? It's another piece of that.
Well, that's why I was asking.
So it depends, like, because based on what Dylan read, if it's a private rental of a town facility, then it needs an exemption, a variance. So, like, the next item that we're going to hear for the Clam Jam is not an open event to the public. So that needs a variance. It's a private rental of a town facility. Where if we were doing, the one we just did before this was a meet and greet on the Sherman Green, that's wide open to the public, that would not need a variance and would not fall under the noise ordinance.
But I think if we are doing this, we should be aware of that, because if we're doing this, if, for example, the next meeting where we're going to do a block is January, and something is being presented, kind of a last-minute event, we should all remember that we need to, in addition to the approval, secure the variance.
Right.
Does this mean that if people are having weddings at Burr Mansion, or they have to come here to get a variance? They have to
No, because we have Galen doing that in their place.
Okay.
That's what we're doing right now.
Okay.
We're doing.
Yeah, there's a bunch of weddings here.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't have to deal with a bunch of brides lining up with brides' mothers. Okay. Any other questions? Anyone make a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Okay, David and Jamie second? Sure.
We should mention this so that on a quarterly basis as well, in the motion, right?
So the motion, David, Bridget is just indicating that we should probably, in the motion, approve this and then state that we're going to review this on a quarterly basis.
Sure. That's fine.
You good, putting
That's
together
fine.
that?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, good catch. All right. Any further discussion, conversation?
One other thing. Could we just make, if someone else comes before, they're gonna have a function, it's just part of the application is that also you will have the variance, be part of, so we don't forget. We approve something and we forget the variance part, and then they go have the function, and we're just making it included. If we're accepting it, we're accepting them to have.
Yeah, but then, in order to do that, they would have to go to the police. So what we're doing is Galen is going to, summarize all the events. Every single one. So, we're not going to, skip any. Since it's on a quarterly basis, we're going to put together a list like this, rubber stamp it here, Galen's going to go to the police, and I think the only time that we're going to have to, do something different is if it's a last minute rental. If all of a sudden one pops up so we're shut down, so there wouldn't be anything after October 20th.
Correct.
But if there happens to be a open date early October and someone wants it tomorrow, we'd have to do that.
We'd have to come up with something. Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
Anyone who's requesting a rental, obviously you now have that as part of your process, right? That they understand that there is that that you're going to go forward to get a variance, but if you can't obtain that, then they have to adhere to. Because there could be reasons why we say no.
The noise ordinance has always been a part of our rules and regulations.
Okay.
We have not been publicizing the fact that they've changed and gotten more stringent.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about if there was a reason why we don't have it in front of us that as a group we would say, no, the noise on that is too much.
Mm-hmm.
Or would we pass it through to the police commission and let them decide?
Kind of think if we're taking their money, we're to rent the place, that we are supportive of the event. And so we are going to recommend to the police that the variance is granted.
Yeah.
So
I was just thinking about if there happened to be a situation where it was something where we did not agree to approve because it was because of a noise factor.
Well, I guess in our conversation on a quarterly basis, when we're reviewing this, if if, for example, there was something on the list, for whatever reason you wanted to discuss, it may, you know, we may push it through anyhow, but if there was an event that you wanted to discuss to possibly not seek a variance on that for whatever reason, we can
Okay.
table that. I can't
Like a
imagine
convention of
what
lawmakers.
there might be, but we can
Yeah.
certainly
You never
mention that.
Okay. Here. Makes sense.
Okay. So, nothing further from the commission, from the public, back to the commission, all those in favor?
All right.
All right. You're all set. Okay. Next up, request from, are you William Johnson? Okay. Dean of Students at Fairfield University for approval of the Fairfield University Clam Jam 2024 to be held at Jennings Beach, Saturday, April 27, 2024, 11 to 4 p.m. What number is this? 7?
7 or 8 minus, 2 years of COVID where we didn't have it.
All right.
Probably like 2013 maybe, or 14.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
we've been through this before.
Yes.
And it's a big enough event that it doesn't fall under our rules that the director can simply approve it. So tell us a little bit, but answer the question, is there anything different this year from prior years?
Location.
That's it.
Because of the ongoing work at Penfield, we've had to shift the location down to Jennings Beach. I believe the commission was provided with this diagram that sort of gives a sense of what the layout will be, and for all intents and purposes, same ideal, but I think you all know Jennings is a little bit different than Penfield, so we had to maneuver the location of some of the options for this event. For example, in the past, everything was done on the beach at Penfield. For Jennings, we're going to utilize the parking lot for some of the activities, such as food distribution, where portalets will be, so on and so forth. So the beach at Jennings will primarily be just used for the music, entertainment, and those sorts of things. So there'll be a little bit of foot traffic over the Sandy Bridge there at Jennings, as people going back and forth. But we're going to, as we have in the past, fence off the area to make this not just keep residents out, but for any others who may just want to come and try to crash the party, so to speak, to really make this a private event. The other thing that you'll note is on the bottom left-hand corner of the diagram, you'll see beach bus drop-off. Because it's a little bit more of a hike from the Lantern Point area and further down Fairfield Beach Road, where a number of our students live, we're actually going to transport the students. Don't quote me on the pickup location, but I will assume, as we typically do, it'll be Veterans Park, where we'll have the students meet. School buses will transport them down Fairfield Beach Road. So that should hopefully eliminate some of the noise concerns going up and down Fairfield Beach Road, some of the litter concerns that we tend to get over time, and we'll just literally just drop the students right off at the event and venue, and we'll go on from there. Time schedule's the same, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's it.
Do you plan on notifying the beach club that there's going to be a bunch of activity?
We can't. We can't. I don't know if that was part of our plan to do so.
It's just, with all the buses dropping off.
Yep.
And if that pickup spot, there's going to be a lot of kids meandering about, waiting for the buses. It might be just a neighborly thing to let them know.
Good.
The club won't be open at that point anyway, though. Doesn't open.
End of April?
April, yeah.
It's not even open for any tennis or paddle?
Paddle, but that's not really open season. Technically, it opens Memorial Day, which is when next year.
After April 22nd.
May 31st? Yes, no.
Well, okay, you're right, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't hurt.
Wouldn't hurt.
Okay. Any questions?
I had just a question, whether, does this impact the sandcastle, and does that mean the sandcastle has to be closed for that time?
Well, there's still public access on the back side, on the dead-end road, I forget the name of the road, but off of South Benson. There is access there, and they're using the marina for public parking, so people will still be able to get there. And I believe that everywhere there's yellow on here, you're still fencing, correct?
That's correct.
So that'll still be fenced off, so the college kids aren't wandering that way or vice versa.
But there will be a available walkway from the marina outside of the fencing. of the
Correct.
sandcastle.
Yeah. Yep.
So to drink beer at this
Say that again?
you have a wrist
Yes.
bracelet? Okay.
Yes, so we make sure that students who are overage have one color, students who are underage.
Okay. Okay.
Next, worked well, all the prior events, no issues,
Yes.
no police involvement and any of the other
No.
events?
No, this event surprisingly runs pretty smooth.
Surprising.
It really does.
Compared to what it was prior to 2012?
Exactly.
This is,
And wasn't there a little event in Lincoln Point earlier this year? You made some of the papers?
Oh, you mean like last year, at the end of 2022, something called SantaCon? Yes. Hopefully we won't.
All right, any other questions? Dylan, do you have a question?
Nope.
Did you change band colors from last year, like the wristbands?
We usually change it.
We're still wearing the
Some
year
people may
later.
still have them.
Cut them off.
Well, if you're a year older, you'll want to switch that wristband out.
Exactly.
All right. No other questions, and I want to make a motion for Bill. We have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Dylan. Okay, any further questions, comments? Galen, any from the park? Okay, back to the commission, all those in favor? All right, you're all set.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
No problem.
Who's the music gonna be?
That has not been decided yet. Hopefully, someone I'm familiar with.
Take care.
Okay, next up, Bill, you want to handle it, update from the master plan subcommittee?
Sure. Back on August 14th, Brian, Chris, and I met, and Anthony joined in to go over the master plan. We met prior to that, discussed phase 1, so now we were talking about phase 2 and 3, and we pretty much, Anthony gave us an update of what was going on in each facility. So we didn't really come out with a phase 2, phase 3 plan. We just more or less discussed, what's going on at Dover, and you want me to give an update on what you guys are doing? Maybe-
Sure, that's only take a couple minutes.
So Dover, pavilion, playgrounds are done, parking and fencing will be done next, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Dugallo, parking lot needs to be paved, and then the study for second softball field needs to be done, so we're looking at that. And the idea was passed by President of Fairfield, Little League Girls Softball. Dwight tennis courts are done, and 8 pickleball courts.
Yeah, they're about a couple weeks away still. Fencing was back ordered, but they will be.
Highwood Park playground done, basketball court is next on the list. Lincoln Park playground is done for ages 5 to 12. The fencing was next on the list to be done, and along with the new sandbox and walk pathways.
Yeah, they might have just started the fencing this week. They were doing it right after Parkapalooza.
Owen Fish, everything's on hold. Tungus, 2 new pickleball courts will be constructed this fall, and a lower baseball field, backstop, and fencing to be replaced. And then Lake Mohegan, there's probably a splash park pad, and that's being replaced by, not by the town, but
By the contractor.
contractor, and then some fencing. And Oldfield Senior Center will be painting parking lot for pickleball.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then Brian and I and Chris separately, we all visited Walter Fitzgerald Complex on our own. We sort of discussed that. There's a lot that could be done there, property-wise, but our concerns are, getting to the place, the traffic for the neighbors and that. And then, Anthony, you're knocking off like the lower end stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We went over it pretty much. So some of the stuff was on the master plan is being taken off, as you guys must do it.
Yep.
So 2 open apps that we made. One was the original master plan identified the back section of Duty Yellow Field as a dog park. We would like to consider it for a second softball field. There's 6 locations identified, I believe 6 for dog parks. We don't need to go from 0 to 6, and to say, the proximity. That would probably be the ideal location for a dog park, but it's even more ideal, in our opinion, a location for a second softball field. So our ask was to have a study done to see what, if it's possible in that back section from a size point of view, and from, I don't think the land really drops off too much, just to see what it might cost. And we know that, the girls, Little League, very active. They were very involved with the construction of the first one. So if it makes sense, we may support that, and there may be a public-private type of relationship with that. Mm-hmm. So, and the second was the Walter Fitzgerald. As Bill said, we were attempting to meet there, to have a little meeting there and walk it together, but it just didn't work out. So, but separately we walked there, and there's a lot of space. There is a building as you come in, a building on back right that looks like, a couple of us could go out there with some sledgehammers and knock it down ourselves. It's ready to go, but if you take that down without really even going into the woods, which we have, 30 acres?
And there's 30 plus acres there.
Yeah.
There's 30 acres?
Yeah.
This is the Southport location, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even if we don't, bust through at a different location for entrance, if we just consider the space that's clear now where this building is, there may be room for 1 or 2 fields, soccer, lacrosse, whatever field. So we also asked if we can get a study done by an outside vendor to, tell us what that might cost. And
30 acres, you should be able to work with you.
that 30 acres is the wooded area.
Is it wetland?
Is that a problem?
The only problem is, a number of problems, cost, and it's set right in the middle of a pretty nice neighborhood. So there would be a lot of pushback. We all separately drove to the site and drove in a number of the different roads. So
this is always my concern with this stuff.
I don't think we should finish. There are other points that could be easy access points. So we would love to, consider that. But, first steps, we're just asking about the space that's clear. Second step, would be to go beyond that. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Baby steps.
I mean, I would just knock it all out and get a plan that looks like a reasonable plan. Not go in this worrying about neighbors and costs. Let's get the optimal situation, because I worry this piecemeal thing is exactly what we've been doing forever. And I think we just need to take a comprehensive approach to a police property. It's gonna be controversial, it's Fairfield, that's what it is. But the reality is, I think the stepwise thing is just gonna continue, like, you'll get maybe half of it done, maybe.
I would tend to agree with McKay that if we're gonna do it, we should do it right the first time versus, going in baby steps.
Would it be subject to RTM approval, do you know?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, and it's conservation land, so we'd have to work something out with them, first.
Yeah.
But we've done that before, I mean,
Right?
yeah, we can.
I think what Brian's saying though is the spaces there now before taking down trees, you can get.
But we all know
Couple
we
fields
need
there.
to take down trees, that's the thing. Like, the sports community is willing to put money into building proper, and that's why I don't understand why we'd be so hesitant to not try to explore an optimal situation.
None of us disagree with the concept. We all, agree that that would be a perfect location for a indoor, kind of like the sports zone up in Trumbull.
In sports,
So
yeah.
they like in sports now. I'm dating myself. Yes, it would be a perfect location for that. And we've been discussing that in all of our meetings, but we just thought at this point, because that really didn't make it onto the master plan. So we are putting it onto the master plan, and, it's mentioned in the master plan, but not as one of the 15 sites. So,
That's why I proposed,
It's one of the 15 sites.
Yeah.
it's one of the 15.
Oh, yeah, they had a whole plan with putting 2 fields up there, baseball field, additional parking, back entrance. Oh, yeah, they had a nice concept. I mean, it might not be what we want, but
okay.
they had a nice concept.
Okay.
So there's been a feasibility study in this?
No,
No, it's part of the master.
no, it was part of the
plan.
master
It's
plan
a
where,
200-page document, it was included in it.
yeah.
Can we move it up into feasibility or?
We could start looking at it. Start looking at it.
Yeah, they proposed it's like 8 million.
Okay.
Do what they want to do.
In phase 3, was it?
It was in the sites to consider.
Gerald, they,
You have 30 acres back there, huh?
And you can build on it, right? Buildable and.
No,
phase 2 is what they have. They had it
space in the middle, is it?
turf field, softball field, basketball courts, parking area, loop path,
What
picnic
page you
area,
on, Bill?
113.
What's the address? Sorry.
Barberry
Barberry Lane.
Lane or road?
I have to go up there.
Oh, road.
There's nothing left in Fairfield.
Yeah.
I can get.
I agree.
One of the best shops you're gonna get.
Yeah, exactly.
You make it look good.
And then the other thing is such an eyesore is that one that's like near Martel, that big
Yeah.
space there.
The old Exide, yeah, it's not ours.
Oh,
We don't own it.
yeah.
Yeah. It's owned by the same people that own the Hyundai building across the street.
Oh, really?
That's
Another
not-
eyesore.
yeah.
Nice.
Weren't they gonna build
They were.
storage?
They wanted to build, I think, storage and apartments.
Is that sketch now?
I think it's still before TPZ. I think they just submitted the application. I don't think it's been to the hearing yet, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but it's just-
It was recently, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so then, in accordance with McKay's request, can we upgrade the study that is going to be done?
Yeah, we definitely can. Just kind of give me an idea of what you want to see.
I mean, an in-sports type facility would be awesome.
Like an indoor field house type.
Well, plus how do you maximize that space? Like, I think we should look at it from the perspective, like, so, near my in-laws' house in Florida, coincidentally, there's 30 acres that was converted to soccer complex, football. They have to have 8 Little League baseball fields there.
Mm-hmm.
Outdoor basketball, I mean, they have everything. And it was, probably 33 acres, but, anyway, it's similar. Like, so that's why I I can actually envision what 30 acres can look like.
Oh, it could be tremendous.
And so I just think, like, and, you know, I don't think this has to be, like, we have to start moving everything in government to give. I think conceptually, seeing what is possible with 30 acres.
Okay,
And
I
then you can
understand.
scale back, right?
Yeah,
You
I
can always
get it.
scale back, but I think it's going to be harder to push it forward than it is to scale back.
I understand what you're looking for.
Yep.
I got it.
Maybe some combination of indoor, outdoor too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm picturing. Just kind of what you said, but I understand.
And
Some
a
pickleball
top
court.
golf, put that in there too.
There you go. Think of one giant
And a
dog park.
top golf.
Yeah, well,
It's a big dog.
we're gonna need the pool and the,
You need a swimming pool.
yeah,
The
the
pool.
The pool going by the
and the
train
hockey
station.
rink.
And hockey rink.
Okay,
I
all
never
right.
understood that.
Anything else, Bill?
That's all,
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So, Board of Ed report, Jen sent me some notes, she is not gonna be available, she'll call in at, she thinks it's 45, so there wasn't a whole lot, if she calls in, she can update this, but she said, Board of Ed is still very much in the midst of analyzing the scenarios and what is best for the district. I guess that's, with regards to redistricting. Next meeting is September 6th. They're very likely adding some additional meetings in October to meet the deadline. And if there's any commission members who would like to reach out to her for any additional questions, just feel free. If she calls in, there may be more. And then the director and program reports.
Yep, everybody should have received a copy of the director's report. So we're in the middle of our fall-winter brochure. Brochure hit. Programs are up and running, so we're about halfway through some of the fall programs right now. Everything is going well. Parks team's working to ensure the facility's in the best conditions possible. We're still out grooming the beach because we have had some nice weather, so we'll probably do that for a couple more weeks. Budget process will begin hopefully in the next month or two, so we'll start talking about getting those before you guys earlier than, I think last year we did it in January or February. I'm hoping that they'll be back to the fall like we used to be, but again, finance department will drive that process and when we start it. As far as projects go, the big one that we've got going on right now is the Penfield Pavilion. So everything at the Penfield Pavilion on the deck has been removed. Everything inside the building has been emptied and put into storage or moved to other locations. Utilities were shut off today officially, so everything's been winterized. Site fencing should go up starting, I think, Monday, Tuesday, and then hotspot remediation will start in the parking lot, I believe, this first week of October, second week of October, and then once they're done with that, the full remediation underneath the building will begin. And again, we're looking at a 12 to 18-month process. I think when we hit about January and they start really getting into the ground, we'll have a much better feel if it's on the 12-month side or if it's more towards the 18-month side. But that's where we are with Penfield. As I mentioned earlier, with the Fairfield Woods tennis courts and pickleball courts and the Dwight tennis courts and pickleball courts, we're just waiting on the fencing material. It was supposed to be in this week. They were supposed to be over there as soon as it came in, so I'm guessing since they weren't there today that it hasn't come in yet, but we're probably 2 weeks away from those projects being completed. The 2 additional pickleball courts at Tunks's Hill are in the permitting phase. So hopefully we'll have sign-offs on those from Conservation Building, and we'll be able to put that out to bid in the next couple of weeks and start construction. Again, that project probably only about a 16-week project. So if we can get in the ground, we might be able to finish before winter. But if not, it'll be definitely done by early spring. And then the other big project we have is the Ludlow Middle School turf project. After many renditions of the site plan, we finally have a site plan that the majority of the people in the community are happy with, and it meets all the needs we as a commission and as a department we're looking for, where we're able to fit a full multi-purpose field there, fully lit, a baseball diamond, a full baseball diamond, a softball diamond that could also be used for Little League, that again you could use under the lights. Baseball you won't necessarily be able to use under the lights for games, but it's enough for practices and all that. So that passed, the lighting passed through ZBA last week or the week before. So now we have to go to planning and zoning, and then we have to go through inland wetlands, and then we'll go out to bid. So we're probably be out to bid sometime in mid to late October is my guess. Again, depending on how fast we can get somebody on and what their schedule is like, we're probably looking at real groundbreaking in the spring, which again, project's been dragged out a little bit, a lot, but it's going to be, I think, ultimately done properly, which is the most important part. So,
If you said it probably wouldn't be able to use a light for baseball games,
correct.
but you could use it for baseball games. Are you still talking non-varsity baseball games?
So we don't schedule the baseball teams, but again, we didn't build a press box. We didn't build a site for bleachers. So again, not that high school baseball, no offense to anybody, like high school baseball, they don't typically get large crowds anyway, so I don't know that those are deal breakers for the varsity team. If the AD says, hey, we want to put a varsity game there, I mean, if it's a rainy day and they still want to get that game in, this is a location they will be able to use. Again, it's going to take some juggling on Galen's end because you're not going to be able to play baseball there and anything else. If you put baseball there, it's baseball. You put softball there, it's softball during that time. Whereas if you had football there, you could put soccer, you could put field hockey, you could put other things at the same time because there's plenty of space. But with those two diamond sports, you're stuck with the one. So, yeah, it's going to be up to the AD on what he decides he wants to do.
There are lots of programs that would love to use it, like travel programs would rent that out, because you can do 40, 60, 50, 70 in full, right?
Yeah.
Where can we see an updated plan on that, the latest?
Town's rolling out a new website October 2nd, so it'll be on there. I don't think I've put it on the new web. I don't think I put it on the old website. I've just been building stuff on the new website, but I've got all our projects. I've got a Parks Project portal page, which will just give you an update of all the current projects and recently completed projects, how much money was funded, where the design plans are, the RFPs, which companies. So it's, again, full transparency for the public. They're curious of where we are. They can go and look right on our website now. Yeah, if I remember to send you the plan, I will.
I'll remind you.
All right, thank you. You saw the response from regards to the rules for Attorney Baldwin?
Yes.
There. All right, anything else?
Can I ask one question about this?
Sure.
Sorry. When is Bill Hurley coming back? Can we schedule that?
I don't think he has a time frame of when he's coming back.
Yeah, he wouldn't say like 60, 90 days.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything. You would hear.
I could follow up with him, but
We'll plan for a long meeting. He comes back. So, all right, nothing else?
Brian?
Yes.
This is Jen Kennelly.
Hey, Jen, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. So I read the note that you sent. I told everyone that you might be joining us. So anything else you want to share?
That's pretty much the only topic that's likely to be of interest. But I just wanted to offer myself to answer any questions if anybody had them. That's pretty much front and center, the whole redistricting issue, in terms of dominating our agenda, even as we're looking at curriculum and preparing for the next budget rollout and, discussing HVAC issues. But again, I just wanted to give the commission a chance if they had any questions, just to let you know that I got on about 7:40.
Anything for Jen?
No, thank you for your service. God.
Thanks, Jen.
My hair is turning gray as we speak.
Yeah. You're very welcome.
All right. So now,
Okay.
there's nothing else?
Yeah.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.